everybody. Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. This is a commentary segment. We're going to talk about some of the big news items in the world of sports entertainment and pro wrestling in this video. One of them being the unfortunate stroke that Jerry the King Lawler suffered during the week back on February 7th. The situation was pretty serious at the time. It's still fairly serious. Jerry seems to be recovering. So we are sending our best wishes out to the King. Hopefully he does recover from this. Of course, you know, we all famously remember him having a condition, a similar serious issue live on air on Raw several years ago. That was probably one of the more surreal moments in that era of WWE. So his on-air heart attack. So again, best wishes to Jerry Lawler and his family. On some lighter news, we're going to talk about the results from this past week or this current weekend's New Japan Pro Wrestling show. The New Beginning tour came to an end with a grand conclusion. You can check out my review and the link down in the description box or the video or whatever. Just click on it and you'll find it. But one of the big things that came out of that show is that Switchblade Jay White no longer will be able to wrestle in Japan. And that comes to the big loss of his match against Hikuleo. Now, for months, people have been speculating, people who don't watch New Japan, have been speculating that Jay White would show up at the Royal Rumble. Which they say that every year with these New Japan guys. I'm like, their contracts don't end to the end of January. The Royal Rumble happens in the middle. Now, this comes up a lot because of what happened with AJ Styles several years ago. It was 6-7 years. God, it's been that long. It's been that long. 6 or 7 years ago, 2016, I think it was, when AJ showed up straight out of New Japan. But, you know, a lot of the way the contracts are now with New Japan, they end at the end of January. So these guys, you know, it was the same thing with Kenny Omega and the same thing with Jay White. If he is, and we still don't know where he's going, if he may or may not be going to WWE eventually, but if he was, he wouldn't be at the Royal Rumble this year, and I think that's a good thing. But there's been a lot of speculation for months about Jay White leaving New Japan and where was he going to go. Now, several years ago when AEW started, people were asking about it, and the rumor was that Jay White had a 7-year contract with New Japan, which means if that's the case, he's still got at least 2 years left on his New Japan contract, so he might not be going anywhere. As far as him going into WWE, let's say that happens in the next month and Jay White winds up in WWE. I don't know where he would fit in there. I don't know if his style, I think his style of wrestling, if Triple H is doing the booking, because as I've said several times, and those of you who've been subscribed to my channel know this, I have compared Jay White several times to a 1999 Triple H. That's who he's always reminded me of in these instances. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Jay White would find success in WWE under the direction of Triple H. Obviously, he could get involved with Finn Balor and AJ Styles. He could team up with the Good Brothers, since he kind of claims kayfabe that he's responsible for them getting their contracts in WWE. I can see him being in WWE someday. I think he said he grew up, that's what he knew wrestling was when he was younger. So I definitely could see him there someday, but right now I don't know if he would be. But again, we don't know where he's going officially. As far as the AEW thing, I don't think there's any room for him in AEW. I think AEW, the problem with this is going to be a different video I'm going to do about some of the issues I've come to have with AEW in the past couple of months, and I think Jay White would probably be lost in the shuffle. He'd come in like a Malachi Black, and I think he'd wind up the same kind of position that Malachi Black is in right now. And for that to happen for somebody the level of Jay White would be kind of upsetting. But I don't think that he's not going to be working with AEW at all. In fact, I think it's much more likely that you would see Jay White over the next year or two on AEW television than you would WWE television. So what do I think would actually happen with Jay White? Well, I take a couple of things into consideration. Number one, I remember after the Final Battle pay-per-view in Ring of Honor that Tony Khan in the press conference talked about the Honor Club, but he also talked about that there's some co-branded project that he really was hush-hush on about that was had New Japan Pro Wrestling as part of it. They were a big part of this, whatever this new thing is that Tony Khan is trying to get off the ground for 2023 in association with AEW, Ring of Honor, and New Japan. I've also heard Jay White in recent times reference, even before Wrestle Kingdom, that New Japan Strong was the best side. Like what was happening in Japan wasn't as good as what was happening in the States with New Japan Strong. And Jay White, during most of the pandemic, spent most of his time working in New Japan Strong and not over in Japan. So taking those things into consideration, the fact that the stipulation is that the loser leaves Japan, not the loser leaves New Japan, and the fact that even Kazuchika Okada in his post-match interview said that, oh yeah, but Jay's not leaving New Japan. He's just leaving Japan, and I'm sure our roads will cross again. This leads me to believe that there is something cooking with New Japan Strong, Ring of Honor, and AEW. And in fact, I think my personal opinion is that a Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong are kind of redundant. They're both second brands of the second and third biggest wrestling companies in the world, but they're kind of secondary or developmental or whatever, however you want to consider them brands. And I think they kind of cancel each other out to some extent, because I think New Japan Strong, now this could be what comes up, I don't know, but my one thought when this all came about was that it would be nice if New Japan Strong and Ring of Honor kind of merged as one thing, and then then that's kind of a even stronger tie between New Japan and AEW, obviously. But I do think that they present very similar types of products, and they fit the same kind of niche, who are people who maybe they're not into the Impact, and AEW's not the big time like WWE, but it's still a little bit too glossy for them, and WWE's too much, and New Japan and CMLL are foreign language, and I can't really get with that. So they like their kind of slightly above indie style of wrestling, which I think again Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong kind of bring. So I think maybe that might be it. Jay White, who will be at the Battle in the Valley program and will be facing an AEW talent in Eddie Kingston next Saturday, I'm wondering if there's something more coming out of that. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't think that Jay White, if I had to put my money on it right now, my bet would be that Jay White's still going to be in New Japan, but he's just going to be over in the States in New Japan Strong, trying to help build that up, and whatever this co-branded thing that is going on between New Japan and AEW, of whatever Tony Khan was talking about in December, is going to be. A lot of speculation going on about a potential Daniel Bryan 2014 situation coming up 9 years later here with Cody Rhodes, who is on his way to WrestleMania's main event against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, possibly. Sami Zayn challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal World Championship, heavyweight, whatever the hell the damn belt is called. But the WWE Championship. And, there's a lot of speculation. It's in Montreal. Obviously, Sami Zayn's hometown. He's going to be a big fan favorite. And WWE has a history of having hometown people lose big matches in their hometown. But I don't know that. I mean, they could pull something where Sami winds up winning, and then it's Sami. It'll probably wind up being a triple. If they do that, it probably would be a triple threat match, which then I would think that Roman would probably just win the belt back after all of it is said and done. I wonder if they're going to do something like that. WWE has been known to do things like that in the past. But I think right now, I think most people are assuming that Cody Rhodes is going to be the one who's going to take the championship off of Roman at WrestleMania, and this match with Sami Zayn is just kind of a stopgap on the way to that. Now, the interesting thing is that Cody and Zayn have talked about this. They've been very diplomatic about it, Cody especially. There's a high amount of popularity for both of these wrestlers, and I think the Paul Heyman promo, which I think I've heard a rumor that Zayn pitched it, that's not confirmed. It may have happened or may not have happened, but the Paul Heyman Cody Rhodes promo from Monday Night Raw was really good, and that is answering a question that I had, is that after the Bloodline storyline with Sami Zayn kind of wraps up, because we're getting near the end of it now, there was nothing else I saw in WWE that really gave me that kind of emotional grip. And seeing the promo between Heyman and Cody on Monday was like, well, there they go. Now they've got one there. But even again, that's got like a two month expiration date on it to WrestleMania. So, but again, as I said in a video that I produced last week about why the Bloodline Sami Zayn storyline works so well, if WWE can tap on these emotional strings, and you've got Heyman and Cody Rhodes, two of the best guys who are just superb at doing that kind of stuff, WWE's booking could be a lot better in the future. Hopefully the wrestling improves from what we saw at the Royal Rumble. We'll see it in Elimination Chamber, because the Royal Rumble, I rewatched it, and yeah, the wrestling portion wasn't all that great. The storylines were great. The wrestling portion it left a lot to be desired, especially on the second watch. And what do you think about Jay White after the big loss to Hikuleo at the New Beginning show in New Japan Pro Wrestling? Do you still think he might show up in WWE? Do you still think he's going to be full-time in AEW? Or do you think that maybe he's just going to be in NJPW Strong, still in New Japan, but doing this collab thing, whatever that it was Tony Khan was talking about, with All Elite Wrestling during 2023 and beyond? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification bell, and be sure to share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, where I don't even know if you can do that on TikTok, but anywhere on social media that you talk about pro wrestling and sports entertainment. I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.